Hello everybody, I'm Don Counts and we are here with Dick Farrar. And today, tell us who we have, Dick.
We have John Rickman with us, a longtime friend and another person I admire greatly.
Glad to be here.
Rick, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I was born in Lewisburg, Marshall County, raised in the north section at Chapel Hill, raised on a farm, and we were dairy farmers and had a good life there. A lot of relatives around and played football, basketball in high school. Had lots of fun. Didn't really want to leave high school. I enjoyed it so much. But when I did, I went to Martin College in Pulaski and spent 2 years there. And that's where I met my wife, Barb. And then we went to MTSU. She worked while I was a full-time student. And I got my BS there, began teaching the following year. In 1969-70, I came to Tullahoma, and I've been here ever since. I spent 30 years in teaching and coaching at the junior high and then middle school level, and then had a second career in real estate. And then stopped that in 2008, and now I am my hobby is golfing, and of course my wife and I we've raised 3 children. Mary is the oldest. She's a teacher and a coach in Murfreesboro, and she has retired and since though started back doing collecting her retirement plus teaching as well. She still coaches a travel league squad, and she's got 2 children and 2 teenagers. And then Chris, my son, lives here in town. He is a father of 5 children, 3 adopted from Costa Rica years ago. And those girls, the older 2 girls are college. One's in college, one's a college graduate, one's married. And Chris is, and Kim, his wife, they have a fine family. He's still around Tullahoma. Mary and Chris both were outstanding athletes here in Tullahoma. Chris, basketball and baseball. Mary, she could play just about anything, basketball and volleyball. Volleyball, her college scholarship in volleyball. And Mark, our youngest, had medical problems when he was young, and he wasn't able to play sports like they did, but he's been the joy of our life. So that's my one thing I've been proud of down through the years is playing music on the side. I've always been a musician. I always loved playing music. My brother and I started when we were young. Well, my father and mother, they played music. And then my sister was a good pianist, and my brother and I, we took up guitar. We didn't want to be trained. We just wanted to learn how to play guitar and sing like, whatever. I mean, whatever songs some country, some rock and roll back in the day. And he owned a mandolin, me on the guitar. We played that a while, and then we got together with friends. And we made a little band there in Chapel Hill, and we played music. We were called the Monterey's, and we used to play. I'm in Tullahoma now, and we used to go out here to AEDC, out to the NCO club, and we would play music with adults in attendance. Dance during the dances. We would provide the music, and that was the best thing that we did was perform at the Nashville Tennessean's Discovery of the Year contest. We won that. Us old boys from Chapel Hill, us old country boys, won that we were rock and roll mostly, and we did that. But we mixed in a little country, and the judges, I think, liked that. And then after that's when I went to college. I decided I didn't want to stay up late at night. I didn't like that kind of life. But then later on, my brother and I and another boy from Chapel Hill in 1972, we began a group, a little trio. My brother on a big bass fiddle and me on the guitar and my friend on the guitar, and we were kind of like a country Kingston trio, and we played music all over. We coast to coast, all through the state, for a group of untrained musicians that were kind of comical. We were comical. We you know, if people didn't laugh, we knew we were in trouble. But we had the good fortune of being on the Grand Ole Opry. We played for about 11, 12 years on the Ralph Emery Show in the morning as semi-regulars. He asked us to be regulars one time, but we told him we had jobs, we had families, we couldn't do just that. But so we still do some of that, but not as much. My brother's had some vocal problems and hearing problems, so we can't do that 3-part harmony like we used to. We were what I considered pretty good at one time. So we've had a good time, and athletics and music, that's always been a part of my life. Coaching the teams back in the day, and then I was not too long ago in this very room honored with the Clyde W. Smith Educational Leadership Award, and that was I was the 25th recipient of that, so I was very honored for that. But down through the years, it's been good. Now, I've told you a lot. I'm not sure what I've left out, but I just started from the beginning and to this point.
That's very good. Dick?
John, very interesting. You covered the field. You mentioned you grew up in Marshall County and attended Forrest School in Chapel Hill.
Yes, sir.
Forrest student was comprised of children in grades 1 through 12. Mm-hmm. In many ways, it was typical of dozens of other schools across Middle Tennessee, with agriculture playing a part in many students' lives and income. What were school and family like for you then?
My father and my mother were a good team. We milked cows. I didn't particularly like it, and I tell people that my brother and I, we were reluctant farmhands. But we did help, and we respected our parents for what they did. My mother, she would get up and cook breakfast, and then my father didn't, except in the springtime when the cows wouldn't come up. You know, the grasses were coming on and the cows wouldn't come up. He didn't expect us to get up as early as he did, which was good. But during the spring we had to, because of the cows not coming up. But we would, my mother would signal to my father that meal was ready when she'd turn the porch light on. That'd let him know that the meal was ready. We had a gallon pasteurizer in the back porch there. I remember it sitting there, and he'd bring up a gallon of milk, put it in that pasteurizer, and that's the milk we drank. I always preferred city milk because it was homogenized. But we had to have teamwork back in that day. My sister she was very good. She was a home ec major from 2 years at UT before she married her husband Jim, who's passed away. But she was a teacher. She was a teacher over in Manchester. 17 years a teacher there, and she's about 7 years older than my brother and myself.
I might say, John, you were country when country was cool.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
With school buses transporting children from all grade levels to campus, older and younger students blended into an almost family-like atmosphere. Primary students and secondary students routinely interacted. What were your family's expectations when they sent you and your siblings off to school?
they expected fairly good grades. My sister was, she was salutatorian. My brother and I, we didn't care about that. All we wanted to do was just kind of get by. But B's and C's were what, we didn't strive to make A's all the time. But if our deportment grades were poor, that's when they were unhappy. Deportment meaning we weren't behaving like we should. I wrote a song. I'm a songwriter, Dick. I wrote about the school bus one time. I remember years ago having so much fun riding back to school on old P31. That great big yellow school bus was so much fun back then. If I could, I wish that I could do it all again. That was part of that song. That's the first verse of the song.
Very interesting. Yeah, yeah.
I'll do the chorus. Like a dust storm in the distance, like a mini hurricane, you could hear P31 coming down those country lanes. That old bus would rock from side to side while Doc, the school driver, would make his run, and we'd all, on old P31, I can't remember that last line right there. It was like a hurricane. You could see the dust, those old country roads, you didn't have pavement on some of them. It was a trip.
John, today high school students who are athletic and prone to play sports usually have a variety of sports in which they can participate. That hasn't always been the case. You played basketball and football in high school. With Forrest being a relatively small rural school, were there any other sports options for you? And additionally, what were community sport or game attendance like for football and basketball?
When I was a little kid, I played Little League ball, and Chapel Hill had its own little team, and I was on that team. I guess that was the first maybe Little League team that they had back in the day. And I remember playing a lot of sandlot with kids, but then we did join the Lewisburg Little League over there, and we were part of that. We always competed on a pretty evenly basis with them. And then some of the Chapel Hill teams were superior to the Lewisburg talent along the way. But I played City League softball. When I got to high school, we had two teams in Chapel Hill, and we would play teams like College Grove, Igaville, Unionville, Rockvale. Rockvale was a little place then, and we had a league. And I remember when I was a senior, or in the summertime before my senior year, we won the league, and then the other Chapel Hill team won the tournament. So it was big stuff back in the day, and we had a lot of fun doing that. And basketball, I don't think we took basketball very serious, Dick. We told people for the most part, we just stayed in shape. We're trying to stay in shape for football. And football was our thing that we loved, and we wanted to do well in football because I guess it sort of shows your manhood to be good in football, and that's what we strived harder in.
Okay. And you've mentioned this, another interest of many teenagers back in those days, in the 60s in particular, was music. You fit into that mold by developing keen interest in music. Detail how you came to be involved in a band, and how did doing live music entertainment become a passion for you?
Mm-hmm. I think the first time my brother and I ever played, we were maybe at Caney Spring General Store, and just a bunch of old guys in overalls, and we came there one night, and those guys complimented us. Of course, any little kid trying to make music, they would do that. Then we played one time up in the middle of Chapel Hill for I can't remember, a drawing they had up in the middle of town. And I think Nita Blackwell, she was a friend of ours and a effervescent type of person. She passed the hat around. I think we made $1.83 or something like that. But we started a little group called the Rebel Rousers. That was a small group, and Candy, Mike Wilson's sister, she was a pianist, and we would play at WJJM in Lewisburg, for the radio station, like some people might do, go in and make a little music on Saturday or whatever. And then she decided she didn't want to play with a bunch of guys' music, so she quit. So then that's when we started the Monterey's, and we played music like Walk Don't Run, Memphis, Johnny Be Good, House of the Riding Sun, anything back in that day, whatever was popular, that's the sort of things we did. And about the time the Beatles came on the scene, that's sort of about the time I quit the band. But I loved the Beatles' creativity. I did.
Someone once told me, but the Beatles knew music better than anyone they knew.
They were creative. They used chords that everything much before, Chuck Berry and Elvis and everybody else used 3-chord progressions, and it was sort of the same. But they came with augmented chords, minors, and all that. And they were very creative. They did it differently.
In 1967, you earned an associate's degree from Martin College in Pulaski, married former Martin co-ed Barbara Wisner, and enrolled at Middle Tennessee State. You opt to pursue a degree in health and physical education. By the time the summer of '69 rolled around, you had a BS degree and were ready to join the workforce. Can you recall the whirlwind of excitement and enthusiasm you had when, as a college graduate, you landed your first teaching job?
I made, I was excited. I was making $6,500, $6,000 for teaching and $500 for coaching 3 sports. But it was a love type of thing. I liked working with young people, young men. I was at a restaurant just a minute ago, and a fellow named Charlie Pless, he said, "Bill Bratner's in town Monday. We want to come see you." That's the kind of thing that a teacher and a coach lives for.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
That first job of yours was at Tullahoma City School System as a teacher at East Junior High School, later renamed as East Middle School. Something that you did, something certainly unusual for a phys ed instructor, was introduce your students to music and encourage them to take advantage of opportunities to become well-rounded, not simply focusing on one thing such as sports. What in your background helped you realize the benefits of being versed in several different areas?
Well, I had an old guitar that was tuned, and I kept it in my office. And sometimes these little guys interested that maybe knew a few chords, or not, maybe I taught them a few along the way, and they would come play my guitar in my office, and it was theirs to play if they wanted to do that. And we had a teacher over at our school named Ms. Luckadoo. Ms. Luckadoo, she was into birding. She would take her binoculars out, and the kids would go out on the campus and watch birds. That was her forte. And I really think that that's important to sort of share with other students something that interests you as well. And and my grandmother was that way. She was a naturalist. She was interested in rocks and trees and ferns and all that sort of thing. And her kids, I think, got a benefit from her loving nature the way she did.
Us Two and Him is well known around the area and has endured for a number of years and has become reasonably well known. You've had appearances on the Grand Ole Opry, Ernest Tubb Midnight Jamboree, and other radio television programs, including an 11-year run as semi-regulars on one of the most popular locally produced programs in the country, The Ralph Emery Show on WSMV TV. What has it been like over the years to have this side job mushroom into something bigger than you ever anticipated?
I think it was probably unexpected. When we started, I remember we 3 played for the quarterback club at Chapel Hill, Forrest quarterback club one time. we were asked to do that. From that, we were asked to play for the business women, professional women's group in Chapel Hill, and then other people heard about us, and before long we were going to Lewisburg, then Columbia, then Fayetteville, of course, and we did a lot of playing. Dick, where you're from in Fayetteville, we played a lot over there, and Terry Bedwell was the city manager over there, and then seemed like there was I can't remember. But we went everywhere. We went everywhere, and then lots of times right after school, I'd get in my car and always ready to have my clothes ready or whatever to get on the road, and Jimmy and Phil and I would meet somewhere and go off somewhere, maybe West Tennessee, East, wherever we were going. I remember when we'd go to the Ralph Emery show, Mr. Osteen, my principal, would allow me to be off from my first period, missed my first period, because that was my basketball time. We could practice basketball during the first period with girls back that time. And the girls were good, and I'd have somebody watching over them a little bit. But every so often I'd miss and be on the Ralph Emery show. Well, on the Ralph Emery show, I had to get up at 2:30 in the morning. We had to be there at 5, be ready for the show at 5:30. So I'd get up at 2:30, bathe, shave, all those sort of things, get on the road at 3 o'clock to meet my brother and Phil in Chapel Hill. And then from there, we'd travel an hour and go get on Knob Hill at 5 o'clock and be there ready for the show at 5:30. Then after the show, which ended at 7, we'd normally stop off just a brief moment in Franklin and get something to eat for breakfast. And then I'd travel from there, track my steps back to East Middle School. And there I would do good all day long till about 2:30. Then I'd just about the bottom fall out. I'd be so tired. But we did that year after year. And one of our scariest moments, we had a fella in Lewisburg, his name Clay Derryberry. He's still around. He plays music. But Clay was a pilot. He is a pilot. And he would fly us here and there when we had a long trip. Well, we were somewhere over North Carolina. And coming back at night, an engine went out. And I heard a pop. And then he looked a little bit concerned. So I was the one sitting up here, and Jim and Phil were sleeping in the back. And so all you could see down there was black, all darkness all the way around. Well, I said, "What's wrong, Clay?" And he said, "Well, we've lost power in the left engine." And so he said he was gaining altitude. He was gaining altitude. So we went back to Hickory. We had to turn around and go back to Hickory, North Carolina, and make an emergency landing there. And he had to pump the wheels down because the left engine he said that it did that automatically, if it were working right. So he had to pump the landing gear down. So, and then we found a little motel. It wasn't a great motel, and all of us in our underwear and sleeping in the same room, and no toothbrushes, no anything, and we rent a car the next day. We had a lot of equipment with us too, so we had to rent something big and carry all our equipment back. So we drove back from Hickory, North Carolina, back to Middle Tennessee the next day. Wild.
Your music career, you obviously have rubbed shoulders with some of the stars. Mm-hmm. Can you name one or two?
Yeah, we've been around people like the Soap Sisters, which was the Judds, George Hamilton IV, what's his name? The banjo player sang Mountain Dew, Grandpa Jones, a lot of different. Yeah, we've been around. Billy Grammer, different ones. Billy Grammer was the man on that host. He was a host of our segment of the Grand Ole Opry that night, so we got to meet him that night. Bo Bandy, I think we were around him one time. And we didn't actually, the lady who sang Delta Dawn. But anyway, she name's not coming to me too quick, but
Tanya Tucker.
Tanya Tucker, and she was we've been around a lot of people, and lately we were around the fellow that Rory and Joey. She passed away, but Rory's still there outside of Chapel Hill at Pottsville. And we did a little thing over there not long ago, got to meet him.
In 2024, the Tullahoma School Board of Education bestowed the Clyde W. Smith Jr. Leadership Award on you for your many years of meritorious service to the community and education. The award's namesake was the late former school board chairman. In addition to being a well-deserved honor, it must have been humbling to be recognized by those who were eyewitnesses to your work each day.
I think the way you have to do is just be steady. You have to give a steady performance all the time. You can't be one way one day, another way another day. You got to stay steady. And I pretty well, I think, stayed steady down through the years.
Included in your first assignments at East Junior High, that first academic year, you were assigned coaching duties as girls and boys basketball coach and track and field coach. You had a 20-year streak where the Panthers track squad did not lose a meet. Teaching in a classroom and teaching in the role of a coach are different. Both can be rewarding because of the unique opportunities to develop relationships. Please give us your take on the differences and the uniqueness of each.
The student athlete, you can't get away from them being a student first. And you really, as a teacher, you're a human being too. You wear this label of authority, but you've got to treat kids good, and they need to treat you good back. And you will get that good coming back to you. And I did have trouble with certain children, but student athletes I did all those sports, and I enjoyed track for the fact that you had so many body types. You had a big boy, maybe a little chubby, he could throw the shot. Long, lanky boy, couldn't run very good, but he could throw the disc. One, if they were daring and athletic and had a little speed, they could be pole vaulters. They had to be a little crazy too to do that. But then a hurdler there are certain hurdlers seem like they were just born to hurdle. They could get that leg down quick and get back on the ground and run again. And then some were not fast on the sprint, but they were good in the distance running. And basketball, you had to identify talent. I'm not sure if I was always the best at identifying talent. I did the best I could, and we all do the best we can. But I've had good years, but I've experienced losses just like everybody else, and I hate them, just like every other coach, every other person. I play golf, and yesterday I had the worst golf, in a while, and I just hated it. I'm ready to get out there and try again.
John, it's obvious your interests are very varied. You've touched the lives of thousands of students. You are highly regarded in the community. With that said, if you could choose, what would you want your legacy to be?
To be remembered as a good person, a person who was a family man, a person who loved people and got along well with people, and left a little bit of mark here through my children, which I hope that they can do the same thing for their children and people around them. And I very much enjoyed my years as a teacher and a coach and a musician. Being a musician, that was just like fun. It was just fun. And we did it. We had such a great time doing it. And that was just a little side hobby that was just that bloomed into something real good. But I've enjoyed life. My wife and was always a helpmate, you know, with me. She's not in the greatest of shape these days. She has some health problems, but we have good home.
John, great interview. I first met you, I saw integrity and character written all over you.
Thank you.
I
Dick.
still mean that today.
Same with you.